Welcome to the Good Ride, where we've been keeping it soft and playful for many a year now, over 10. And this is the review of the Burton Ion. So to give you a quick summary, the Burton Ion's been a boot I've been riding since the early O's, and it's a boot I love, and I'll never forget that first time I tried it. I went out with an SLX, I went out with an Ion, a ruler, just rode all day and tried all three, and this one just blew my mind. And so many boots out there just act like boots. They just go on your bindings, they either fit good, they don't, they either have more response or less. They don't have magic usually, and these were just magical to first turn, and they've evolved over the years and changed, but they still have that same just fun to turn magic that makes turning easier. And yeah, they're super expensive and they don't last as long as they used to, but they're comfortable day one now, and they still have that turning magic, so it's still a very recommendable boot here in 2021. In terms of sizing, this is a 9. I'm a true size 9, and I'm an E in width, which is kind of on the wider side. It's kind of mid-wide in terms of foot width, and Burton boots just fit me great. And I think that's kind of where you need to be, kind of like C, D, E, kind of that range, and that'll make you probably happiest in these boots. You might be able to go a little past E, a little under C. Every foot is different, so it really depends on the individual, but overall, usually the happiest are kind of the mid-widths. In terms of construction, the Burton Ion has changed a lot over the years. It used to be this heavy, burly boot. All their boots used to be super heavy and really durable and made to ride like 100+ days a year. And lately they've been going for day one comfort over longevity. But I think that's okay for most people. For me, I like the old style of construction because I ride a lot, ride over 100 days a year, and so do a lot of my friends. For us, we're a little bummed about it, but for most people who ride 10 to 30 days a year, you're going to be comfortable all those days you ride if you fit this boot right and go through the process of heat molding, all that kind of stuff. And speaking of, let's take a look at the liner. It's used to have this kind of like crazy construction right here that would really reinforce the liner. It used to have like rad rubber pads years ago that did two things. They reinforced this area so it would bend correctly, but they also retained the flex. They still have this foam here on the bottom like they used to do with their, I think it was their Life Ride liners, or no, Infinite Ride liners. These are Life Ride. And when they went to Life Ride, it just softened up a lot. And now it's really comfortable. I usually don't have to heat mold these, and I won't have to heat mold this most likely. So moving from the outer part of the shell, you can see there isn't much ankle articulation going on here. And one of the parts about the construction these days, and they just never really did it with the Ion, is they break down right around here pretty easy. And these days they even have less reinforcement in the back, just a little extra, you know, faux leather with a little almost like a millimeter or so of like a rubber, and that's about it. Inside you have this really cool kind of rubbery, like orange kind of rubber, really dense rubber that helps with shock absorption, and you can see that silver reflection underneath. That is a reflective pad to reflect heat back up into you, so that's pretty cool. From there, let's talk about the insole. The insole sucks, but all insoles pretty much in the entire industry suck. It's much better if you can to get a custom orthotic, but they cost hundreds of bucks. Probably if you can afford this though, you can afford that. If you can't and you blew your whole entire wad on this boot, which I have done in the past before I started doing this site full-time 10 years ago, you know, you might not be able to afford something like this. And something like the Footprint insole technology Game Changers really works well with this boot and really improves the shock absorption, and I like that a lot. So in terms of adjustability, you have double lacing. Lacing at the top, lacing at the bottom. I love that personally because I like riding a little loose on the bottom, a little tighter on the top, but you can mix it up, you can mix and match, and there isn't really any overlap. And so some people love that. I love that the laces are completely separate. Other people love that overlap because they really want to wrap down around the ankle. So if you're one of those type of people, you know, this might not be the boot for you. If everything else intrigues you about this boot, then you can do this. See these J-bars here? You can add boot fitting foam around here and stuff like that to enhance the J-bars, but they're pretty aggressive and they help me lock my heel and ankle in. But again, I'm a wider boot and I have semi-swollen ankles from years of injuries. So sucked back then, but now it holds me in pretty much every boot. So if you have narrower ankles though, you can play around with boot fitting foam. Getting these boots on and off is really easy. Speed lace, it does kind of get a little, you know, all over the place sometimes, but it's way more manageable than traditional lace, almost as adjustable, and really easy on. I actually like this better on than BOA, because BOA you have to twist, 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 twist. Oh, it went a little too tight, let it go, it pops out a little further than you want, you play that game. With this, you just kind of pull till you feel it right, pull till you feel it right. I just alternate, put them in here, and I'm done. With speed lace, it's much easier to get off because all you do is pop and everything rolls up internally when you pull these off and this out. See, just getting tangled up right here. You have to do this, and you kind of have to do that with BOA too, but it's definitely more work getting off. But so overall it evens out because the on is so much easier. We talked a bit about construction, but we never really addressed the flex. It's a pretty stiff boot out of the box. Compare that to the Tourist here. You know, this has some days on it though. This is pretty new. This is 1 day in, and it's not fair because it's soft, really soft right here, but it's stiff here. But this is definitely the stiffest of the three and the most responsive. And just the way this initiates a turn, it just helps you in every aspect of a turn in a way that almost any other boot I've tried doesn't. It's just so unique. It just feels like it's helping you cheat through these turns, and it just makes them more satisfying. It's just got some turning magic to it, and they've never lost that over the years, despite all the different changes and little tweaks. It just still has that magic that I love, and that's why, even though it doesn't last as long as it used to, it's still very recommendable for that reason. So when it comes to shock absorption, it's kind of interesting with this two-tone. We'll turn it around right here. They have a very minimized EST outsole, I think that's what they call it, but it has some EVA foam, and if you throw in some Game Changers, it works for me. You know, one of my favorite boots for shock absorption was the Adidas Tactical ADV. This has a lot of advantages over that as well, but shock absorption was not one of them. So they're made to work with more shock absorbent bindings like Burton's EST and Burton's Reflex, and they have a nice shock absorbent footbed. So combined together, they're great. Or if you pair this up with another shock absorbent binding, you're gonna do fine. But still, I'm surprised at how much you get out of this for how thin it is. Traction, you just got nice rubber throughout the sole. And it's not too stiff, so you've got board feel here, but it's got traction that'll last most of the year for sure, or all of it, depending on how many parking lots you walk through and how many rocky, weird climbs. But if you're in a lot of snow, this will be fine all year. So footprint, when you're talking about the Burton footprint with all these boots, from the cheapest Burton Moto all the way up to, you know, the Driver X, to the Ion, to the SLX, it has one of the most reduced footprints in the industry throughout the line. There are some like Adidas that have a smaller footprint, especially so because they run a little large and you size down to an 8.5. Inside it's a lot bigger. But these are consistent throughout the line. So when Adidas gets up into like 11, 12, suddenly they're the same or sometimes even bigger than Burton, where Burton's just always this like continuously the same footprint size throughout the line. And this is great if you're, let's say, a 10.5 and you're trying to fit a regular sized board that's maybe like the cutoff's at 10. This'll get it done. But overall, the footprint's amazing. And overall, the Burton Ion, like I said, it's just turning magic. It's just a great boot, and it matches up really well with boards that like a boot that has a little more response and has a little special something in the turn initiation. If you really love to turn and carve, this is a great combination, and I like this much more than the Driver X. The Driver X is just all response and it breaks down pretty quickly, where this doesn't break down as fast. And it's not all that response. It doesn't feel as sharp and twitchy, and it just really turns a board well. So there you have it.